Hey guys, it's Mr. Moberg. I'm obviously not here with you today, so I wanted to go over some of the directions so that you can get started and be successful in your water purification challenge. Right now, you should be in your assigned seats that Mrs. Kobani helped you figure out last class. And let's get started. So first, I want to briefly review the water purification challenge criteria. Biggest thing that we're looking for is the purity of the water, and we'll be using the blue ppm reader to judge that. We'll also be judging the appearance, the particulates, which means how many floating particles there are in the water. We'll be smelling it to see that if it has an odor or not. And you will also be defending your purification process to talk about the science behind what you did. Recipe for the water that you're going to be making, and I'll put this up in a little bit when you get started, but when you're going to make the swamp water, you're going to go over to the middle lab station. You're going to get your 600 milliliter beaker from your lab kit. You're going to fill the beaker to the 100 milliliter line with dirt, and then add water to the 300 milliliter line, and then stir. It should look something like this. On the actual day of the challenge, the recipe that we use will be similar, but there will be another added element to it just to make it kind of fun. Things that you'll be provided with today. Your guest teacher will be providing you with 2 coffee filters that you're welcome to use. These are the 2 that you get, so you will not get additional ones on the day of the test. Another thing that you need to be aware of is on the day of the test, we will also be testing the pH of the paper. So you will not get that pH paper today, but we will test that on that day. So whatever you do to the water, I would make sure to do a little bit of research and see how what you do affects the pH, the acidity of the water. The number you're shooting for is about a 7. You want your pH to be about a 7 because that's what water is. Another resource that's provided for you in your lab kit is Alum. Now, I want to just give you some insight on this. Alum can be a useful tool to use in water purifying, but I want to cap out what you use at about 5 grams. If you use more than 5 grams at any point, that's going to actually be harmful to your results and not be a good idea. As you know, we have limited TDS readers, so make sure that when you use it today, if you want to get a feel for how you're doing, that you put it right back so that other groups can use it if they need. The other thing that's provided in that middle lab table is gravel and sand. Please use this material wisely and try not to be wasteful. When it's time to clean up, the gravel, sand, dirt, anything like that that's going to that you could potentially pour down the drain, please make sure not to pour it down the drain because it can actually clog the pipes up. Anything that's big, any sediment that's big enough, make sure to throw that in the trash. Here are my expectations for you guys today. Use your time well. Work in your groups only. I want to make sure that we're not meandering from group to group, but that we're sticking with our groups so that we can help them. Respect the materials that are provided for you, both in your lab kits and at the center table. And make sure to clean up after yourself. The guest teacher is going to be checking your stations before you go, so make sure that you're leaving it nice for the next class. And lastly, please ask questions if you have them. Mrs. Kobani will be floating back and forth between classrooms, so she'll be a resource. If it's not an urgent question, feel free to email me, and I can help clarify anything that you need. Plan today is as follows. If you have not finished your research, I'm going to have you start there with your group. Make sure that everybody understands the different methods that water is purified. You are then going to design a plan for today, going to this document right here. You're going to type that link in. You're going to share that document with your group and kind of make yourself an outline for how you're going to try to purify the water. This will be really helpful next class when you defend the methods that you chose to use. Once you're ready to start, you're going to make your swamp water. Here's a link to the recipe. You're going to practice, practice, practice. The more practice you get in today, the more feedback you get on if what you're doing is working. So I would make sure to keep using that TDS reader and keep trying to figure out what works. Because to be honest with you, some things work and some don't. So you're going to have to do some trial and error. And make sure that you clean up your stuff today. I cannot emphasize that enough. It's important to respect our materials and to make sure that the next class comes in a good setting with clean lab stations. And you also want to leave here with a plan for next class, because on Wednesday we will be purifying the water and you'll need to get ready to start right away when you walk in. So if there's anything you need to bring from home, make sure that you do that. And I also just want to quickly remind you of some of the big rules. You cannot use boiling, because that's a method we've already showed you and it's very helpful, but I want you to think outside the box on that. And you cannot use anything that is pre-made to be a water filter. You may use parts of things and you may research how purifiers are made, but you must construct your own. I want your guest teacher right now to pause the screen so that you can have a majority of the class to work, and then you'll resume this screencast in the last 5 minutes. So go ahead and get started, and hopefully it's a successful work time today. Okay, now that you've had a lot of time to work today, I hope that your group was able to find some helpful and successful methods for purifying water. Please make sure that your station has been cleaned up and that your teacher has checked your space to make sure that you're good to go before you head out today. And be ready to start that purification challenge next class right at the beginning, because we're going to go right away. All right, thank you, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thanks.